The architect. So his firm went out of business. So they're left. They can't find the builder. They're gone. The next one is involved in disappearance. So to the insurance.
It is 6 p.m. on April the 9th, 2026, and I'm calling the Trophy Club Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to order at exactly 6 p.m. Okay, the first section is public comments. Is anyone signed up to speak? Jackie?
No, sir.
I'm going to skip that portion then, okay, and go straight into the regular agenda items. Agenda item number 1 is presentation and discussion of proposed amendment request to Plant Development District 27, PD 27, ordinance related to landscape standards within the Highlands of Trophy Club.
Chairman,
Yes.
the town secretary has received affidavits from P&Z Commissioners Barbaran and Kesterson to disclose that they own property in PD 27.
Okay, thank you. Please note that no action can be taken on this item at this time. However, should the commission reach a consensus, staff may be directed to place this item on a future agenda for consideration. Matt?
All right, because I'm not going to be up there long.
I
so I'm gonna
understand.
Stay here. First of all, since it's open, not public hearing, did anybody happen to watch the special council meeting for the final plat?
No.
No.
Nope. They smoked our record. 3 minutes. Under 3 minutes.
I did hear it was a record.
Well,
Under 3 minutes.
that was
So,
probably representative of what a good job was done prior to delivering that to them.
they didn't even give me time to say good evening, mayor and council. It just, so.
Well, how many times have we seen that thing, though?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. So at some point, this won't be this evening, but at some point, we'll have to,
Work on that.
we'll have to set our sights
It's
on
hard
it.
sometimes.
Give us another beverage one, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, beverage license.
Well, no,
Done.
Ryland, he'll beat us to it.
so we've seen PD 27 numerous times over the last 6 months. So this is it's not, has anything to do with the trails. We've got an applicant that would just like to come and just give a presentation. I'll just give you the Cliff Note version. It's about trees and less trees that's required. The ordinance states 1 tree per 30 feet on the lots. I think it's a little strange that we're all familiar with lots 1 through 5 because we've discussed that. Lots 5 is the smallest lot, so it's only 50 foot wide. So therefore just 1 because it's 50 foot. All the rest would be 2. Lot type 1 is 90 feet wide, so that would, require a minimum of 3. But there's a clause in there and it says that, but a minimum of 2 trees under lot type 2. And I still don't, I've read it and reread it. I don't understand why
Yeah, it's 80
that
feet.
clause isn't, because it's 80 foot wide.
Yeah.
So it's going to be 2. So with that, I will introduce the applicant, Mrs. Fox, and then she does have a presentation for y'all.
Okay, could you state your name and address, please?
Hi, I'm Jenny Fox. I'm at 2753 Enfield Drive in Trophy Club in the Highlands.
Okay, you
And how
have
do
the
I-
floor.
All right, put this down. Okay, perfect. Perfect. A lot of slides, but I'll go through them fast, and it's just to kind of give you guys a visualization. So I currently serve on the volunteer board for the HOA of the Highlands, so I've been involved with them in a volunteer capacity, not on the board, but for about 10 years. Started in the communication area helping them, then I moved into the ACC, which is our Architectural Control Committee. And this issue actually arose with us when I was on the ACC about 2.5 years ago, where we were getting a lot of requests. So with the ACC, that is required within our HOA when someone wants to install a pool or change their landscaping or anything, from the aesthetic perspective has to be approved through that committee. So what we noticed as a team is we were getting a lot of requests to change out landscaping. Our neighborhood's about 12 years old, kind of in the oldest section. And we have kind of had some confusion about trees for a while. I know back in maybe 10 years ago, we were told we had to have 2 trees pretty much every house per this town ordinance. And so as we've the trees have matured now as you go down. You'll see they're getting quite large, and so people are coming in that are new. We're having grass dying, all these kind of issues, and so people were submitting to ACC, hey, I just want to have one tree. I don't have room for two. We're like, well, sorry, we have to deny this because the rule for Trophy Club is two. So this, I just kind of want to go through the background. We actually ended up doing a survey of our residents to present to you our official request to meet the rest of the town of Trophy Club of just to have a minimum of one tree. It's not saying people can't have 2 or 5 if they have the huge lots. We have a variety of lots. It's quite confusing as an HOA member as well. How do I give guidance? I don't want one neighbor against neighbor to come in and be like, hey, he doesn't have the 2. Well, he's a lot type 1, and I don't even know what that means either. So a lot of confusion. We'd love to simplify it and make it easy for our residents. So I wasn't sure how much background information you all would have. I'm sure quite a bit. Just to recap, PD 27 is the Highlands. We're the largest. We have Turnberry and then Abbey Moore. This is well, unfortunately, when you blow it up, the pictures don't look great, but one of the prime examples of the issue we have with tree is Broadway Drive. If anybody has students that attend Beck Elementary, you've gone down Broadway Drive, or you've come into our town between the hours of 4:30 and 6:30 to avoid the wonderful intersection at Bobcat. Broadway has some of the tightest homes, and when you look, this is a satellite view from Google, you can see it, we're maxing out the size of our yard with the trees. This is affecting so many issues with their homes. If you drove down anytime, we've had numerous residents who've had to replace their entire lawn. Unfortunately, a lot of those new residents are not from Texas. They don't understand that all the money they just spent is going to also have to be redone because Bermuda needs sun and these trees are blocking the sun. So it's kind of a never-ending problem. Cole Nix is also on the ACC committee. He's a master of landscape and understands all this, and he kind of presented this to the board a while ago, whereas you can see this is about a 70-foot lot. When you take away the driveway, we got to remember, you're taking away driveway, you're down to about 40 feet. Well, a live oak, which is what most of the builders planted, needs minimum 30 to 40 feet between, anything, basically, but between trees. Well, now that really can only grow one live oak. So, and we're saying we've got to have 2. So this is just terrible for all the landscaping people who we're trying to have good grass and, have the environment look nice. So that's just kind of an issue from the top down of what it looks like. Again, this is just summarizing, what it is. I'm sure in the development of our wonderful PID back in the day, we wanted to make sure that we had a lot of trees and in nature, and we all love that and we want that, but we want it to not also hurt our property and the grass and all the other plants that we're growing within it. So currently, the way I understood it, and Matt kind of helped clarify, is the 2 3-inch caliper trees are required in the front yard. The way we understand it, of anybody in basically our area under PD 27. And those come from a list the town actually has provided, which are shade trees. So crepe myrtles don't count. Some of the smaller trees count. Things like magnolias count. Live oaks, of course, that we see the most of. Chinese pistachios. So there's some good trees in there. They're still bald, or the Bradford pear, unfortunately, is still on there. So I also would like to update that list. We can talk about that another meeting, but that needs to be updated for sustainability. So the ask is basically that we, the residents, we're coming here to you to ask to amend this amendment, basically to change it to match the rest of Trophy Club. We don't have to specifically have 2 trees as a requirement for specific lots in our side of town, but to go just for a minimum of 1, and then let the resident decide if their lot is large, then we can, they can basically have more if they would like. So what we did was, back with the guidance of Matt and Brandon through our HOA, we wanted to get feedback from the town before we came to you and ask these things. I want you to know that people are behind us. We submitted a survey through like a Microsoft form survey. I had headed that up back in September. So after everyone was back from summer and people were around, we had it live for almost 2 months. And we sent it out to get data, to ask very specific questions that Matt and Brandon reviewed and were familiar with. And we sent that out to accessible to not just, of course, the Highlands, but also Turnberry and Abbey Moore. So everybody that was impacted by this had a chance. We advertised it on social media, everywhere I could, in the little mom groups I'm in, everywhere I could think of to get the word out. We had quite a few respondents on this. We actually had 432 respondents. Now, in our HOA, we have just over 900 homes. So from a perspective of that, we have almost half of the people in our HOA. It was primarily the Highlands that did respond, participate, so it was quite a bit. So the first question, I just wanted to highlight, how many trees do you currently have? You can see most people, 66%, have the required 2. We've got about a third that have more than 2, which is great. And then just a couple here that have 1 or aren't sure how many trees they have. The next question was going to, how many, are you aware of the issues caused by having 2 trees in the front yard? Again, to kind of figure out if people are aware that issues can be caused by having large trees. And you can see 60%, yes, they're aware. About 36.6% say no. I call those the transplants that may not have been around here for quite some time. But most people are aware there's going to cause some issues like dead grass, erosion, root damage, things like that. From an analysis, AI helped me, but to summarize, kind of, we had free-form answers in the survey. We had check boxes. When we aggregated the data, the majority of the issues that people are aware of are the grass and shade. That's what has come up to us a lot from an HOA perspective. People are going to have the dead and patchy grass. They're going to have be replacing that and being, led to replace with possibly zoysia or St. Augustine that won't require as much sun. People were aware of the structural damage. That's the big one, with foundations, very concerned with these live oak roots that are really starting to protrude towards the homes, 12 to 13 years later. People mentioned space constraints and overgrowth. I think it's quite shocking for some people who aren't from Texas to come and be a little more tight than they're used to, and then to have these big trees hitting basically every piece of concrete around was definitely a complaint that people brought up. And then other issues just ranging from keeping the grass healthy, being able, again, to have it grow with sunlight, excessive water consumption, having to keep watering. Those were all documented within the survey. The third question was kind of getting a feeler out here, indicate your level of support or opposition to the proposed amendment to reduce the tree requirement. Now, I will say, looking back, I think there was still some confusion. I think several people, when I really read all the comments, were like, well, we want to make sure we have trees. It's like, yes, you can have as many trees as you want. I'm just saying, let's reduce the main requirement to one. So I think there was still some confusion there, but with these responses, you can see over half, 52%, basically strongly support changing that, and then we go with only 20% strongly opposing, and then kind of in the middle from there. When you aggregate the data, again, Microsoft will provide data in some different ways, but the potential benefits when we pulled people on that, again, less grass erosion, reduced water usage, and more sunlight for lawn were the top responses that came up of what people see as the benefits of going down, to just having that one tree. So people understand the benefits. So then after we get through the survey, basically the last question again is, okay, we asked you all these questions, you've had some free-form ability to document. Please state whether you support or oppose an amendment to reduce the tree requirement to one tree in the front yard. We have almost 60% that fully support it, about a third, 28% that oppose it, and then you have another 12.5% which are neutral. So if you lump that in, that's about 70 that are on the positive side, and that one, which is 2/3 and 1/3 that are on the opposed. And again, when you read the comments, a lot of them came back as, I want to have more trees. And again, that goes to the confusion I told you that I think they didn't realize what we were still asking, even though I asked it many times different ways, but that's polls for you. I've learned a lot with this. So based on just that, I would love to ask for your support. All we're asking is for you, again, just to clarify the ask, you've got 2/3 of the residents supporting this. We would love to just match the rest of Trophy Club, and again, there's some ambiguous description here with lot sizes and things, and I understand it may only apply to a lot size of type 2. I'm not quite sure what that is. But from an HOA perspective as well, we'd love to just be fair and transparent and say, all of Trophy Club at least needs one tree. Go at, have as many more as you would like, but if we could just all be equal and match you guys, it would just make our lives a lot easier, and it would really help the residents with, again, as they're redoing landscaping, investing thousands of dollars in redoing lawns, we would appreciate them to be told that they just have to have that single tree if they would like, if their lot, can fit that or must have that. That's all we're asking. So not a huge change, but we'd love for you to petition council and ask that next step forward for the PD 27 to basically match what's on the books for the rest of Trophy Club. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. Any questions? Want to answer questions or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If there's any questions, let me know.
It's open for back and forth. I
Okay.
was gonna show,
Sure.
just before y'all get into your questions, I was gonna show y'all one thing that kind of stood out to me. This photo, it's primarily, your eyes are drawn to the one with the arrows. But if you go 2 more houses down, the one that's got, just the one over. If you notice where you've got grass in between the lots, a lot of times now you're not obviously going to put, here I got my cursor, you're not going to put a tree here. You could, but you're typically not going to. So this resident actually even has less than this 40 here. This one's probably closer to 35 of actual usable space. So, and we see that a lot. I'm very neutral in this, but because code enforcement is under me, we do get the calls for things like that. Typically, it's just because a neighbor's mad at another neighbor.
Yeah.
That's the typical.
Correct.
So,
Can I answer any other questions?
Do I have a question, commissioners?
I have a question for Matt. Is PD 27 really the only one with a 2-tree requirement? The rest of Trophy Club doesn't
we've
have this
really,
requirement?
honestly, we've just been focused on this one. I would have to, dig into the other PDs. Most of the time, the HOA is the enforcer, of this. And so our guys, and Jenny and I talked about it, we're typically more reactive. We're too small as a staff. Trust me, my code enforcement guy is not out looking for homes that just
He's not counting
only
trees.
have one tree. So he's got a lot more things on his plate. So typically, it's a reactive thing of him getting an email, which then forces us to go out and do the investigation. So I don't have a good answer of all the other PDs.
Well, the reason I ask is I wonder if we shouldn't just, can we expand the scope of this and just go, hey,
Sure.
if this is the only one, but hey, let's try to catch everything in Trophy Club and go, hey, 1 tree.
Yeah, I mean, if you'd like, if y'all would like staff to look into that, we're happy to.
The reason I live in Meadow Lakes, and our HOA posted it, of like, okay, well, maybe we should go to planning and zoning, ask, because we're supposed to have 2 trees too. And then so I was like, well, let's just take care of it. If you're in favor.
I mean, we are the town of PDs.
Yeah, that's true.
Look at our,
And amending
our zoning.
PDs.
Yeah.
We've got a lot.
Just out of interest, the house on the far right of the picture here appears to not have any trees. Is that
Or they're
accurate?
really small.
They're really small. So this is someone who's probably ripped, a lot of people are ripping out their original landscaping.
Okay.
And they're planting new ones because the trees have gotten so big, they have to start
Yeah.
over. We had to do that actually at our house. So there's 3 actually. So this is an example of a corner lot. Absolutely. Look, 3, I mean, I don't know what trees these are, but easily 2 can fit there nicely.
And so this would be 3-inch caliper trees that have been planted there. Okay.
Yeah. And again, it's got to be from your approved tree list of the town.
My feeling is that, why change it for 1? Why not just review the town of Trophy Club and be consistent across the town of Trophy Club? And I would say that if the lot size has the availability for 2 trees, we should enforce 2 trees. But if it doesn't, then but everyone has a minimum, that's a family home, has a minimum of 1. But I think it would be more logical to treat Trophy Club as one town. And perhaps, if you do the research, you might find all sorts of anomalies of what you are and aren't allowed to do. Also, the setback of the tree, from the sidewalk, where you have a sidewalk, is something I've noticed as well. But to me, it just seems to echo Sean's point that I think it's something that we should do the research across the town. And if there's a way of rationally harmonizing the rule book, then it's going to make it consistent, more easily enforceable, and everybody's in the same spot.
I would like to request that, again, I understand where you're coming from, but I have a corner home and I don't want 2 trees. We brought our fence all the way up. There's been modifications. I wish if you guys could all drive to our side of town, we are very tight compared to over here. And so if you say, okay, well, you have a corner house, you still need to have 2 trees. I've paid over 20 grand on my landscaping, tried to do all these things, and it's still going to hit my house in about 5 years, the tree roots, And so it's hard to say, okay, well, just based on lot size, you should still have 2 trees because everyone's individual. And again, that's going to come back to us as the HOA, not you guys, meaning, well, this neighbor, how do I explain to our citizens, well, that house doesn't need to have 2 because he's the 50-foot lot. I mean, that's where the confusion's coming in from already having this for 13 years. We would like to just match what is on just one. I mean, we have plenty of trees, guys. This is not the issue. I think that's why this was developed when the PID was developed in 2009, was to make sure we're starting fresh, that we have new trees. But it's causing so many problems. I would really be disappointed if the rule came back that I have to have 2 when I'd be coming back up here requesting that.
So I hear you. I
Okay,
understand where
thank
you're
you.
coming from.
think, to follow up on yours with Matt, if you start surveying the entire city, we're talking about amending one PD 27 with this rule. Wouldn't we have to go back, if there are other PDs that had requirements of minimums, amend those separately? You can't just make a rule for the whole city?
I could talk to the town attorney. We may
Yeah,
be able to.
I just see where that could be
We may be able to
confusing.
do a repeal and replace on all, like to supersede. So for direction for staff, what,
Wait, I have another question
Yeah.
before we get there, okay? So we changed the rules, and you only have to have one. Are we gonna hear the hum of chainsaws all of a sudden? People doing
Probably on
firewood?
Broadway, to be
People-
honest, and they
people
need to be.
selling firewood out of their front yards?
No, I mean, I think you could see by the data, I mean, the people that want this done are affected by it. So please drive by Broadway before you make a decision and see how much erosion is into your streets that need to be cleaned and how much help those people need. Those poor people have spent, so many yards have been redone. Our neighbors on our street, we're in Enfield, it's a very small street, 3 people have already redone all of their grass. That's very expensive, and it's a continuous issue. So I don't think you're gonna hear train saws. Again, there's great landscaping, we have a lot of beautiful trees, but for the people that need it, it gives them the freedom to be able to make that decision for them on an individual basis.
So I'll go ahead and add my comment, if you like, because I am impacted. I think the original intent to enhance the aesthetic of the neighborhood with 2-tree requirement was a good deal. Nobody thought about what it looked like 10 years down the road.
Especially live oak.
You can't see the front of my house and my neighbor's house because the tree canopies have grown. Now, they're trimmed and pruned. If left on their own, they'd probably be everywhere. So they've interlaced over the walkway coming up. So the Amazon man has to keep ducking when he comes up, or he gets hit in the head with a branch. I've replaced my grass twice. So this last time, it had to be zoysia. It's not cheap. I'm not saying anything else. And so for me, when I drive, you can't see the front of the house.
Right.
All you see is a canopy of green. Or in the case of my neighbor during the freeze, when her trees were coming out of the trees, she had one fall over. Root ball and everything just fell over. So that means under this requirement, she has to replace that tree. And if you match the tree, it's expensive. If you go with a 3-inch caliber, it's not as bad, but then it looks really, really strange. So for me, in the root situation is starting to appear. Our sidewalk is starting to
affect the
crack.
town.
We've had to replace, I don't know how many sprinkler heads. We've had a line burst. We've placed heads because of the root growth and everything else on the 2 trees. And with our lot, on the right-hand side, if that tree was gone, that would be a great look. It would be terrific because you're on the side of the house, you have your fence, you have your green grass, you have all of your shrubberies. And the other thing about shade is you have to change to all shade-tolerant plantings under there. Some of those require more water. So you're pumping water on top of this thing. We have restricted water days. So you can't keep up with the watering as needed in some cases. So for me, with the mature trees, I'm all in favor of just the 1-tree requirement. I think that gives the homeowner super flexibility on where to put that tree based on the facade of the house that faces the street. That you can achieve shade, you can achieve the aesthetic that you want to have, but you still have the ability to continue to grow normal plantings and turf that is endemic around our neighborhood. I think some are going to St. Augustine, some are going to this, some are going to that. St. Augustine is notorious for running into somebody else's yard. I don't want St. Augustine in my yard. I had it 15 years in Grapevine. You know, so all of these things, it's a domino effect of the 2 trees, and I don't think that was the original intent, but I think now with the maturity, it is brought on a lot of unintended consequences. And so for me, I understand where you are, but to Matt, I would be curious as to what the attorney said about matching, you know, the requirement across Trophy Club. Because I think there are some lots that would do great with 3 trees. But really, once they get in, what do you have? And I'll give you an example. The thing that caught my eye too was the driveway. So you're now putting 2 mature trees in basically a 40-foot space because take the driveway dimension off. So instead of having your 80-foot, you've now got driveway width, yard, that balance. And so you're cramming these two trees together. So if you look at my house and my neighbor's house, the trees are interlocked. They're just locked because there's no more room for them. And so my fear has always been that my tree extends into my neighbor's yard, causing him damage, depending on where it goes. And so that's just my comments. On the proposal, I am all in favor of the one tree. I think it's way more beneficial to the homeowners than keeping a limited requirement for two trees in one area. It's just my thought.
All right, so I've pulled this up. This shows all of the different lot types. And there, so let's start with the smallest, so lot type 5. So that's going to be all of these homes here. They're basically 0 lot lines. Each house, one side of the house is the fence, so no windows, that kind of thing. Then you're going to go to that next one, that lot type 4. That's basically what she was talking about is Broadway, so that's all of this, kind of this darker yellow. Those are 60-foot lots. So those photos that y'all saw, those are the next size up from a 50. So
If you have a 30-foot driveway, they're really only 30-foot lots for trees, for two trees. That's the problem.
correct. And then you can see kind of how this whole PD 27, kind of came together is you've got a little bit larger lots on Roseville. You'll see, there, so those are all going to be the lot type 3s, the 70-footers. Pretty much all of these are all 70-foot lots. And then you get down on the south side here, those are going to be your 80-foot wide lots. And then your 90-foots, they're intermittent, but you'll see where they're typically these corners here, because those are just oversized lots. And then you've got them basically just the perimeter that goes all the way around. So that just kind of puts it in perspective. And then we've got these big lots over here too. So just as a perspective that Broadway and the street that, they were specifically talking about, those are some of the smallest of the lots. So, other than the, yes, and other than the number 5 lots, and those only require one just because they're so small. So that's just another perspective.
Mr. Poole, do you have another question or comment?
Yeah, Matt, can I just ask, has TrophyClub ever done a tree survey in history?
For the residential, no. We're in the Parks Master Plan is doing a survey currently on town property.
It's, what I'd be interested in is if we just stayed in PD 27 and we invoked the one tree rule, how many trees would we be potentially removing from the environment there?
Well, it wouldn't be hard to do quick math on that, on the
Yeah.
lots, because you basically take all of those brown lots, and then pretty much every other lot is required to have 2, except the purple.
Right, and so for me, it's eliminating the verbiage that says it is a requirement to have 2 trees.
Yeah.
So I'm not cutting either one of mine. So there will be other people that maintain the 2 trees, but in the case of my neighbor, where her tree fell, she wouldn't have to go out and replace it with a like-sized tree. It significant expense, that she would still be in compliance with 1 tree. And so I don't think it means that if you change the verbiage that people would go and eliminate that second tree, but they would have the option if they so chose, but the requirement would simply remain as 1 tree, which I think matches the bulk of Trophy Club currently, is that you have to have 1 tree. That seemingly these lots, the blue lots that you see, are the one where that conundrum of verbiage comes in that says you will have a minimum of 2 trees.
Yeah, the word minimum is pretty
Yeah,
clear.
it says a minimum of 2 trees. And so if that was reworded, you can have 2 trees, but the requirement is just 1. And I think that achieves what the intention behind the survey was, and it gives flexibility to the homeowner Like, you don't have to cut it down, but you can if you want to. You know, and then you pick the best tree and, you know,
So then it kind of circles back to, I don't know how you want to direct us on this, but are we looking exclusively at PD 27? Or are we looking, is it feasible, is it possible to look at some amendment process across Trophy Club to kind of harmonize a single set of rules?
I think our job here tonight is to come to consensus that we want to instruct staff to consider this presentation and this change in PD 27. And part of that will be, obviously, to go look at the rest of the PDs to see if, in fact, that's feasible and/or we don't have to amend every one. Because that's a separate deal every time, you know, and take some time and some thought.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
want to
'cause
listen to
I-
30 HOAs.
Yeah, well, and I would use other PDs as examples. If we're bringing back an amendment to PD 27, then I would bring y'all other examples of other PDs. It is very typical for a new residential development, it's just very common verbiage to require 2 trees. It's just, when I was in Roanoke for 10 years, all new developments, it's just very common. The thought process is, at the beginning, this new development, you're driving down the street, brand-new homes, and you've got trees. A lot of times the thought is not, what's this going to look like 15 years from now, 20 years from now? And most landscapers in commercial, when they do all the initial planting, they've got them spaced out that in about 5 to 10 years, they will remove every other bush. You know, when you see those long, and so, because that's, initially you need to see that, but after about a 10-year period, you'll see the landscapers go through there and they will remove every other one just for the growth.
Allow the growth, yeah. Any other questions or comments? So really, the PD is not the applicant in this scenario.
No, they're bringing the presentation to,
Right. So the applicant's gonna probably be us, isn't it? Or city council?
yeah, it would, so technically it would be P and Z requesting for staff to bring something back to y'all in the future.
Draft something, come back to us.
Yes.
So it'll have to come back to us, and then we'll have to make a recommendation to city council, like we normally do, so. Yeah. Now, if we were ZBA, we'd just do what we wanted to, that'd be it.
no recourse.
We'd be done in 3 minutes.
That's right.
But it can only include a fence.
Right,
Fence the tree.
right. Don't talk about fences, we got enough problems with fences, that's,
So can we make a recommendation for PD 27 and staff to go try to harmonize with the rest of the?
Yes, the only thing you can't do is you can't vote to approve
Right.
this presentation, but what you're basically saying is that, but you can vote to say, yeah, we all agree that we'd like staff to bring this back.
yeah, I'm not sure it's a vote, I think it's just a consensus. We, having heard the presentation, the consensus of the, I forgot to mention, we do have a quorum tonight, so just for the record, for the recording. It's just our job here tonight is not vote or anything, is to listen to the presentation, then have a consensus that we instruct staff to go back and take a look at amending PD 27 based on this presentation, what's reasonable. And we're adding on to that, review other PDs in the city to see if there's some way we can standardize the scenario so we don't come up against this again, which could easily happen, I guess.
I think my HOA is next if we don't.
Okay. He'll be here next week with the presentation.
They just borrow this.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can,
yeah, was it kind of wrong?
Change the names on the slides there a little bit. So
All
do
right,
we have a
any-
consensus that we're,
Any questions? What about lot width? Does that make any difference to any of y'all?
it doesn't to me, because people who have a 90-foot lot are gonna probably want more than one tree.
Okay.
You know, if they've already got it, they're gonna keep it unless it gets diseased or something, or they're gonna change their landscape plan and decide, I don't want that one in there, which is kind of, we're giving them
Especially corner
freedom
houses.
to amend that scenario.
right.
And I think overall, at the end, it just gives the homeowner the ultimate amount of flexibility to do their landscaping as they deem appropriate, you know, and then not suffer unintended costs down the road from something that was originally for their good. And, yeah, so,
So do we have a consensus that we want to instruct staff to?
I just wanted to go back on Matt's comment about the lot size, if I can. If we go to the single tree per home, that would mean for me, I could dispose of over 170 trees and still be compliant with the rules, and the erosion that would cause to my lot and the surrounding areas would be really quite damaging.
Well, and you're not limited because you're not in an HOA or a PD, so you're just basically limited on
I know,
your one tree.
but there's, like the houses further up the street have those 3 lots and so on, so that, I don't know if it's an individual rule for each one or whether it's a collective, and there's some kind of weird things there.
Yeah. Well, in the older part of town, you've got just, you got just a forest,
yeah.
of your large.
And you can have
Post oaks.
cottonwoods and everything.
And most of that, so this is now the landscaper coming out, but most of the time, when you've got established St. Augustine that's been there for 15, 20 years, you're not really gonna have much of an issue. You're gonna have more of an issue when it's these, quote-unquote newer, developments.
Yeah, and I think too, just to circle back, the consensus is on PD 27. So that's the initial thing is PD 27, which is here. And then the secondary look is for unifying, if we can unify, around with the rest of the town's ordinances and PDs. And so I think, just focusing on this one, lot size, is a great question. Unfortunately, some of the other lots are very close. We've had driveways widened. And so, you've actually taken the original footprint and you've decreased the usable space between some of the trees in those cases. I've seen some of the driveways 7, 8 foot that seem to be expanded. And so, I think you just run the risk if you don't unify something, you could still run down that path of unintended consequences. So, and then we'd look like ZBA.
And the survey results that was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
That-
it was pretty overwhelming.
that's a-
It's over
Two-thirds.
300 people.
432,
Yeah,
so,
300.
I'm sorry.
Almost 300 people in favor of.
yes, correct,
So I think that speaks.
which is exactly a third of our
What's the
HOA.
population size of PD 27?
Sir,
I just know our HOA is like, Gary, is it 903 homes or 907? We're at 907 for the
I think it's right at
Highlands,
1,200.
and we're the largest HOA.
1,100, 1,200 total.
Okay, so we've got respondents of about, how many in total?
432.
Okay.
And honestly, the majority was the Highlands. We advertised it, but you
Yeah.
can only do so much for the other
You
neighborhoods.
get 40% of people responding to a survey, you're
Yeah.
doing well.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
Wish they all voted. Thank you all for your consideration. Really appreciate you guys.
but to clarify
Stand
back
by.
to what Commissioner Kester said, that we're instructing staff based on this presentation on PD 27. And there'll be other things that they'll look at in the review of this that may affect other PDs and other things per our city attorney. Is that clear? Is that what everyone has a consensus on? Is it clear?
Maybe just call for an eye on it anyway.
What's that?
Call for an eye on it anyway.
Yeah, you want to call for a vote anyway?
Yeah.
We're voting on the consensus.
Aye,
Yeah, we can do that. All in favor?
aye.
Okay, carries unanimously.
Consensus.
No, anybody opposed? No abstentions?
Save
Okay,
you a
good,
trip.
good.
Exactly.
Thank you for your time.
You
You're
bet.
welcome.
Thank you for your
for the
presentation.
presentation.
Makes it easy when you have all those charts and stuff,
Visual learners.
Okay, we'll move on to the other agenda item here, which is consider approval of the March 12, 2026 Planning and Zoning Commission regular minutes of the meeting. Did everybody review that carefully?
Yep.
Yeah. Do we have a motion to approve those?
Mr. Chairman, I present a motion to approve the meeting minutes as written.
Okay. We have
Second?
a second. Any other discussion, comments, changes? All in favor? Opposed? No? No abstentions? Motion carries. And we are adjourned at exactly 6:38 No, 6:39 PM.
You know, I didn't plan it. I'm in my